right, welcome everyone to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And for those who are listening for the first time, we are a bi-weekly radio show / podcast comic book club covering any and everything regarding comics and manga. We have each co-host pick a book that follows a specific theme and review a book for each episode. Then we wrap up the theme with a post-mortem episode covering our opinions and favorite moments from each of the books. This is our fourth and final book in the theme of Western comics classics. We are reviewing Elfquest issues 1 through 5 by Wendy and Richard Pini with art by Wendy Pini. And so, basically, this comic, it was chosen by our co-host Jake, who could not be here today. But it is one of the first independently published comics, published in the 70s, basically because everybody, all the major companies, Marvel and DC, wouldn't hear them out because Wendy Pini's style was kind of very different from what they were used to.
Yeah, it was a blend of like Western style and like not anime, but manga.
Yeah. Eastern.
Eastern.
Yeah, those big eyes, those big sparkly eyes on the elves.
Mm-hmm. And like, certain reactions and stuff like that, too. You might say that they were taken aback by good art. But I won't editorialize too much. So what is Elfquest? And we will get into like more of the history later, I think, too. But in terms of plot and story, especially for the first 5 issues, Elfquest follows the Wolfriders, a tribe of elves fighting for survival while dealing with a long-standing conflict with the local tribe of archaic humans. After rescuing a captured fellow elf, they're driven from their forest home by the humans who set their forest home on fire. Seeking refuge, the Wolfriders turn to their uneasy allies, the trolls, only to be deceived and exiled into a scorching desert and without water. Given no other option, the elves trek through the desert. Against all odds, the Wolfriders discover a new tribe of elves in a community called Sorrows End, sparking culture clash and distrust. Tensions mount, especially between our main character Cutter, chieftain of the Wolfriders, and the proud hunter elf Rayek of Sorrows End. They both vie for the affection of Leetah, who is the daughter of the tribe leader and has magic healing. She is at first reluctant to choose a life mate, as she values her independence, but through the magic process called recognition, she is matched to Cutter. As the tribes inch toward unity, the Wolfriders prove their strength lies not just in survival, but in forging bonds across differences. By issue 5, the story underscores themes of resilience, identity, and the possibility of harmony between rival. And to give a little bit of a blurb for why Jake chose this book that he was able to provide for us, he told us that he chose this book because it was, like we said, one of the first books to be made with a... Oh, actually, we didn't say that. Excuse me. So it was one of the first books to be made with a planned ending in mind.
Comic books, specifically.
Yeah, specifically, Of course, novels have endings in mind. But one of the first comic books to be made with a planned ending in mind. Also because of the poor quality, limited colors, and printed on newsprint of one of the first collected editions, their authors started their own publishing company.
So does that mean that like they tried to do the first collected edition and it came out so poorly that they were like, we need to take control a little bit?
Right. Basically, they were at a Comic-Con, which that was basically kind of what they did a lot. Wendy Pini would... she would sell her art there a lot, and then she would also enter some of the first cosplay contests as Red Sonja. And then she got so big on doing that she also was in like this whole like traveling show as like Red Sonja and the Wizard.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, so they were at this Comic-Con though, and this one guy came up and was like, "Yeah, I'm a comic publisher." And so they got excited, you know, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll print Elfquest." And so they like made a deal and then like sent off their original art to him in like Chicago. And then they were waiting and not getting their money and stuff. And then finally they did print Elfquest. I think it was like Fantasy Quarterly or something like that. I might not be getting the name right. But yeah, he had said that it was going to be like printed on the finest quality paper, really good colors, you know, all this stuff.
That's what they always say.
Yeah. And then it was like complete garbage, the opposite of what he promised. And so
probably for what they paid too.
Yeah.
Was this the same people that printed it in color?
There was another time they got printed in color as a collected edition, but this was just the first issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the video that you had shared,
right,
covering the history of this, said that that was not their original plan to have it printed in color.
Yeah.
And so that was like one of the things that they didn't like.
Well, no, yeah, because I think that you might be misremembering, because I believe that it was part of the deal that it was going to be colored. It just wasn't colored correctly at all.
Okay.
Like everything was wrong.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no. So basically how that deal ended out, though, is that Richard Pini, being out of money essentially, bought a plane ticket to Chicago and waited outside on the curb until the guy like came to his office and basically was all like, "Give us back our art," you know.
That's precious.
Yeah.
You don't have a digital copy of it somewhere.
No, not in the 70s, you don't. Yeah, so yeah, he got the art back, didn't get paid, unfortunately. But just had to kind of take the loss. But the issue sold really well despite the poor quality. And so that spurred them on to create Warp Press, which is Wendy and Richard Pini. Warp.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and then so and then there's a lot more history, but that is essentially how their publishing company started.
A history of resilience for them.
That's a lot of risk to take at that time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, he had to like open up. Richard Pini had to like look in the yellow pages and like be all like, okay, this is like who like prints stuff, and this is who like, you know, like where like all of the different like parts of like publishing, basically.
Yeah.
All the
on the ground research.
Yeah. And he had like a fairly lucrative job at like IBM though, so he was like, you know, also like working 8 hours and then going home and working.
Passion project.
Yeah. Okay, but so with that, what were our expectations?
I mean, I'd heard of Elfquest before. Had you guys?
No.
Yes.
I had not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. When I looked at the Elfquest website, they have a bunch of things like kind of dispelling the haters. I don't know how to say it, but they're like, we know what you think about Elfquest. You're probably one of those dude bros who's like, it used to be good, but it got bad or something because of the color, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of different lines like that.
Oh, gotcha.
And like there was one of them where I saw, I don't want to say what it is, but I was like, that was a little bit me. I mean, I always heard that Elfquest had like gorgeous black and white. Like I've seen it talked about in different art classes. And I just never really knew what it was about. I always was like, fantasy elves, flouncy, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for me, I'd always seen it like at the comic shop, I feel like, although I haven't seen it in a while now.
There's I know where it is.
Okay.
It's like a big omnibus, so
Yeah.
it's like tucked in the big omnibus
That, yeah,
section.
that makes sense. I think that it was like,
Maybe somebody bought it though.
yeah, maybe, but I mean like when I was like even younger. You know,
yeah.
Like,
Well,
and they've
didn't they-
rearranged, you know.
Well, also like 2018, they did one of their last things for it.
Oh,
is
right,
what they said.
yeah. Yeah, so the
I mean, it's not done, but
right,
like
the final quest.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes it like more people were readings available. But yeah, I did not know what it was about at all. I really have not, generally with like the genre of like high fantasy and stuff, it has not really connected with me. I'm much more of a sci-fi person, you know, which like, you know, but I always felt bad about that because I don't want to be the kind of person that's like,
You don't want to be prejudiced.
yeah, exactly.
Or feel that way at least.
Yeah,
You want to give stuff the chance.
exactly.
But you're also like, I have so much limited time.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's just like, yeah, I've tried things that people say are really, really good, and I'm just like, it didn't connect with me, you know. So it's like
No,
it's
that's
hard.
fair.
It's hard to like reinvest in something else, you know, that might be the same.
We know I feel that way about a lot of popular comics. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did kind of hear that Elfquest is like soap opera style. So I was like, I don't care about these elves.
I get that now. Reading after reading
And
it.
there might be some truth to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. I watched the video before I started reading the comic.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Preconceived notions now.
And all I knew was like, oh, I'm excited to read this. Like, because I really enjoyed their story and kind of the lesson that they took from their endeavors.
Right.
I was like, it really resonates with me.
Yeah, and that lesson, like I remember the last line is, which in some ways, like especially like when you say it out loud, it maybe sounds a little bit trite, but Wendy Pini said that the lesson that she learned is that the reward for patience is patience.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and it's like, to me, it's like, if you can be patient, wow, that's a superpower. Like, so.
Yeah, kind of saying, you know, good things will come in the end, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really know, though, what I was getting into with the book, other than I did also watch the video before, but that's because I found the video. Yeah, so in one sentence, what did we think of the volume overall?
There's a lot of content packed into that. It's like, what do you mean this has only been 30 pages?
Yeah, lots
Fair.
of economy of storytelling.
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's not your sentence.
No. I guess I would say like it's told really well.
Were you slightly bemused at the story?
Yes, I was very good, very entertained.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say for me it really like exceeded my expectations. You know, like I said, I didn't have a lot of expectations. I knew that it was like a big deal, and I had some expectations from the video. But ultimately, yeah, I just kind of thought that I would be like, maybe like it a little bit, but I was, I started reading it last Friday because I accidentally thought that we were recording.
Oh yeah.
So did you rush a little bit?
I rushed a little bit through like the first like issue and a half, and
All
then
right.
I was
That's a
like,
lot to try to rush through.
and then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, by then I was like, well, I'm already here, and so I was, you know, the next day I started reading a little bit more, and I was like, wow, I'm really connecting with this. I really like it, you know. So yeah, enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Cool.
So what is our general feast? Talk about what we liked.
So, I was impressed with how much they put into each page. Like, I mean, personally, I have this thing where I'm like, every single story I'm writing is getting too long. The script is getting too long. This is supposed to be a short story. It's like 60 pages, and that's not enough for the pacing. And so I was just in awe, kind of.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of need to go back and analyze some of this. There's a lot of very dramatic moments, like I think we said that already. And I think that kind of adds to how quickly it's able to progress.
Yeah.
When things happen, there's not a lot of like mulling over it. It's drama, but that's a thing. It doesn't feel melodramatic. Like
No.
they're being dramatic because it's legitimately like life and death for them. I really didn't think it would escalate that quickly with the humans, and I kind of appreciate how strong of a move that is. Like, okay, so first of all, there's elves that come to Earth. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
that's
a different story.
It's part of this deeper story that they don't get into yet. Meet humans, and then generations later, everything is still kind of embroiled in this conflict. And then within a few pages, it's like, we're going to burn the forest down. I don't care if it kills us too.
Yeah.
And then the elves, have to run for their lives. It's also kind of cute, like the characterization, how like so clearly you cannot trust the trolls.
Yeah.
And the elves are kind of nice in the fact that they trust the trolls. They're like, he would gain nothing from lying to us.
Is it trust, or is it like we have the upper hand? We know.
I mean, you gotta. I mean, maybe it's they're a little bit. They're too arrogant. I don't know.
That's
not the
what I
right
got.
Word.
Yeah. I will say too that so one, I read past what we are analyzing for this episode.
Yeah.
And one
It's a
thing.
big time skip.
Yeah, there is. One thing that gets revealed though is that I believe that the existence of the trolls is actually like fairly new to the Wolfriders. Like, granted, they also live a long time, so time is kind of skewed a little bit. So, like, I don't know how long it's been, but it was basically Cutter's dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leetah is 600 years old, and so it's been 10 chiefs since the humans first encountered the elves.
Is that right?
So, how long is that to humans? That must be crazy.
Yeah. Like, so assuming that 10 chiefs. I almost said that. How that works. So, like, I have no idea.
So I don't know if Cutter's people like live as long as Leetah's.
That's a good point too. Yeah, especially because she has like healing magic and stuff.
she clearly is like, I'm older than you, but they never say how much or how.
Yeah, because that was actually, you make a good point that Cutter says that his dad was like, basically he chose to die but short and should be lived to the fullest, basically.
Yeah.
Easy to say when you live that long, I guess. But yeah, so it sounds like we kind of liked the world building stuff that was hinted at. Yeah. Even with the elves coming to Earth at that beginning, and they're like graceful, I guess, angelic, and of course the prehistoric humans are like, kill them.
Yeah.
It's like, man, they can't catch a break.
No, they really can't.
And they have some of the panels where they show like elves then versus elves now, like how they've developed, specifically in the forest, being kind of scared and timid and trying to use their magic to survive. And then now less of them have magic.
Yeah.
And, they're more battle hardened. Like they grow up being ready to like fight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I believe too that the original elf, which also this isn't actually Earth, they have like 2 moons and stuff, but the planet that they are on, I believe that they were much taller, and so they're like gods to them and called the High Ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, that's the thing. Is it just because they're older? Because you remember, Memory Mother.
yeah, the mother of memory.
She's very tall, and she's like, well, it's because I'm old. And you've never seen someone old before, have you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a character who is called the Mother of Memory. She lives in the tribe of Sorrows End in the desert, and she was one of the first settlers of Sorrows End. And she's lived there since then, and she's very tall in comparison.
So it kind of feels like everything's very thought out,
Mm-hmm.
which I appreciate a lot of.
Yeah.
I feel like all the little details mean something more later.
Yeah.
I saw even on their website they have like a listicles thing of like top 10 times it was good to pay attention to the background. I was like, oh, should I be paying attention to the background?
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. That's good. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No. This is really well thought out because like the Pinis had the final. They were like starting out for the final quest.
That's not normal. What do you mean?
They knew where they were
How many
going.
years of like building up to that?
Yeah. I mean, there was also a lot of breaks, but
Yeah.
still,
Mhm.
yeah, they knew how they were going to end it.
I don't
Nice.
like that. That's too good. What about you, Taylon? I haven't heard much from you yet. We've been talking so
Yeah.
much.
No, I've just been enjoying what you guys are saying. I agree with all of it. Yeah, I actually have not had a chance to think about my opinion, so
Yeah, it's hard for me to say like what my favorite moments are and what my least favorite moments
Yeah.
are. I mean, it's pretty easy to compare it to previous stories where like the moment of romance is introduced. I'm like, but I once again I kind of feel like the drama of the trials felt very integral to the characters and the conflict that was going to
Yeah.
be present anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah, Leetah could end it with like accepting that she's, interested in Cutter as well and feels drawn to him in whatever magical way those elves have.
Yeah.
But that it would still exist, that like rivalry that would not go away unless they like dealt with this.
Yeah.
They had to.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like filler. It doesn't feel, it feels inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I enjoy the themes that they're trying to convey of, trying to get over the culture clash, like having acceptance of people of different backgrounds. So like having this like wild tribe just like raid a civilized society and then being like, okay, we forgive you. Now let's work towards restoration.
Yeah.
I think, also thinking about when they first get introduced to each other, as a reader, I didn't feel like the elves were uncivilized because that was our point of view characters at the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I was like, they have to act this way. The humans are
Yeah.
ruthless.
Yeah.
And then they get there and they're like, we're going to go in and take what we want because the humans keep beating us up and we're not going to take it anymore,
Yeah.
with whoever we meet.
No, yeah, they were trusting to the dwarves who backstabbed
Yeah,
us.
the trolls,
Or
the
the
trolls.
trolls, sorry. The trolls.
Yeah, their actions are influenced by things that recently happened that have happened throughout their lives. It feels that way.
Yeah.
Very intentional, and the fact that, like you said, they immediately clashed. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But I know why they did it, and so I
Yeah.
sympathize with both sides,
Yes.
and I can totally see how Leetah is like, that was not getting off on the right foot.
No.
Yeah, like, don't kidnap me, please.
And I like how even the other characters are kind of like, I don't know why you're doing that,
Yeah.
but you're our chief, so okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
We got your back.
Yeah, because I definitely did cringe at that moment. Like you said, like I understood the point of view focus, but then like also how that was not the right choice. But then like I was also like, I liked how it balanced that like seriousness sometimes too.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was going to get like too dark, like they'd hurt her or they like hurt the village or something, you know, they still felt like characters you could follow.
Yeah.
And would make logical decisions. Because, the Rayek, the rival, is like, I'm going to climb up there. And they're like, good luck with that. I'm like, are they going to shoot him?
Yeah, right. Or throw a boulder
They have
down.
the little arrows ready. But, you know, they're... Even back then with the cutter being kind of not regretful, but, you know, he thinks about, like, I could have stopped all this if I killed that human. And at the same time, the other elves are like, we're not murderers. Like, we don't kill because... We kill because we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They clearly could have been shown as, like, bloodthirsty. Like, something about these elves are different. No,
Yeah.
they're like each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are like some parts of the Wolfriders that like, you know, are like have more trouble like fitting in, you know.
Yeah, and some of the differences between the elves feel almost world buildy too, like diverging species perhaps.
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah, that is one way that you could look at it. These elves at Sorrows active in they have night vision and actually this is a good segue because I was going to talk about like the different like magical power. Wolfriders have the ability to send is what they call it. Which
Telepathic.
telepathic ability.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what they meant by that. Like, is it just like I have a feeling that I'm transmitting
You
here.
can do either, right?
Yeah,
Because that big beast that they fought against could do that ability because of forgotten magic or something.
Yeah.
But it would just, since it was a beast, it was more of just sending like vile images into their mind. It was disturbing them. So otherwise, other ones, it seems they can send messages.
Gotcha.
As clear as verbal.
Like talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were talking about, Talon, with noticing the differences and appreciating the differences, you know, so one of those final parts where they stop they're not horses, but they're not horses, but they are horses.
They're horses.
Yeah.
They're like bull horses.
They're like camel horse creatures.
Yeah, I guess I say bull in the fact of they're like crazy, like rampage, you know.
But I mean, they're not normally like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, the Wolfriders find a new solution to the problem that the village had never considered. And they're like, oh, there's some good aspects to behaving this way, and there's some good aspects that we've taught them to like fit in and adapt. But yeah, I'm sorry if I cut you off on your magic
that's
thing.
all right. No, that's a good point though. Yeah, so the Wolfriders can send, I don't know, yeah. I'll just say,
Something.
yeah. And then only is the
Rayek,
yeah, and basically the denizens of Sorrows End generally don't. It is because
just those two.
Yeah, they just didn't practice it basically. But Rayek the hunter, he can levitate things and then also kind of
Right.
Is it hypnotize?
Yeah, it's kind of like
stun them.
It's like
stun.
sending, but he knows how to really do a concentrated, like telepathic blast that like tends to scare people. I think that's the only way he really uses it is to like still someone.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like some like vampire that like you know like
thrall? I don't know what it's called.
something like that.
You
Where
say
it's
a thrall?
yeah.
Okay.
It's a word that's used with vampires.
Yeah,
I don't know what it means.
that's usually like what like you know you can basically like have somebody be your servant that is a human. You haven't turned them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, this is like it is like kind of this stare that like you know freezes.
It's like
them.
the opposite of charm.
Yeah.
It's just intimidate.
Yeah, it's intimidate. Yeah,
Via telepathic.
Yeah, it's a telepathic intimidation kind of that just like deer in the headlights. Basically, you're stuck there.
You can do it to elves. You can do it to animals.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, and then Leetah, as we said, has Mother of Memory. Also send long distances in a way where she can actually like kind of astral project and like travel.
Right.
Yeah. And
She's so funny. She did not have to astral project herself. She probably could have just talked to him as he was leaving.
oh
She's
yeah,
like, this is really hard to do, but I'm doing it.
yeah. I mean, I kind of get the sense that she's so old, even for elves, that maybe she can't like travel. But I don't know. I mean, we haven't gotten that bit of information. That was just kind of my justification.
I mean, it's another good sign that we feel like the information's there, just not told to us,
Yeah.
thought out. I don't know. Is there anything where we didn't really like the moment?
Not particularly. The only thing that I can kind of think of is like maybe there's certain things that, while like I said earlier, I'm not high fantasy genre, there's like tropes that I've like heard of, you know, and like so part of that is like the like I told somebody about the recognition thing and they were like, oh, like Twilight. And I was like,
Oh, is it?
Oh my God, the ending of Twilight.
yeah.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. And I
It's
was
so
like,
dumb.
yeah, like that, I guess.
I mean, it's the usual like the schlock these days where they're like, well, we have to be together because I looked at you and like my
Yeah.
mind's connected with yours. And you're
Yeah,
like,
it's a super love at first sight and undeniable.
Yeah. Well, unrequited, I guess.
yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, you can try to deny it, but you will be.
But you're just in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, your feelings are obviously there.
Yeah.
Which
Which
happens to everybody.
I appreciate. Yeah. So when that first was brought up, I was like a little bit eye rolly because
Yeah.
I thought of super love at first sight. And who wants their character to be fated to something if it's not tragic?
I had more of the issue of like, okay, so this guy kidnapped her,
That,
and it's like,
I mean, that's the thing with a lot of
Yeah.
schlock too, where it's like it's super love at first sight, and this guy was like super rude to the main character or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, or even like abusive, which like kidnapping in that way could be seen as abusive. You know, I mean, obviously we know the character itself is like a good character in this story.
Yeah.
I don't know if we said it, but Cutter's kidnapped Leetah.
Yeah, we said
at
it.
the beginning. Okay.
But I appreciate that the story tried to explore it in terms of having Leetah be like, well, why don't I get to decide? Why? And like pointing at other elves who are like in love. And she's like, that's a different thing. I want that thing. Why do I have this magical, weird thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, with the Red Lance and
Yeah, I think it was Red Lance
Yeah.
and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, gotcha. You would respond by saying, "Oh, you'll get there."
Yeah. And I mean, they do get there,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is like, yeah, definitely like that is like the one thing that I'm kind of like, if anything, it would be like, yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of that, like, yeah, fated attraction where you're all like, you know, my body and part of my mind is like, you know,
Out of my control.
is out of my control. Yeah.
I think going along with that, a little bit of like when she goes to spy on them, when Leetah sneaks to go spy on the Wolfriders, they've been chosen to stay in the caves outside of the village a little bit, off to the side, and she gets to hear about him, Cutter, recounting his father, and obviously the deep love and affection as well as recognition between his father and mother, who were both, you know, important members of the tribe.
Right.
And her being like, oh my gosh, am I going through the same thing? She's like, maybe there can be love. Maybe the recognition is whatever.
Yeah.
She accepts the recognition more because of that story. And it felt a little bit like, okay, of course she's going to come in and hear the perfect time for his most tragic story. Which, to be fair, I was like, that's a really strong story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I kind of thought of it of if you're gonna have two people who are like fated to be together, I think they did a good, or you know, Wendy did a good job of like, well, yes, they're fated to be together, but like these are some practical like things that they have in common.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Like, that's what I'd eventually say is they they are shown to have stuff in common. It's not just opposites attract because we decided so.
Right.
Like, they clearly could get along despite getting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a small thing, and it's kind of covered by other,
It's just so pretty well done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they put a lot in those. I think we read around 176 pages or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I don't know if I necessarily didn't like, but it definitely I noted was that these are longer issues than normal.
Yeah, 30 pages.
Yeah.
I
instead
was
of
literally
20.
thinking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're an indie comic, sometimes you need a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they still felt pretty tight in storytelling. Like, it's crazy that's the same amount of space for the most part. And they're telling, like, a different story, but it doesn't feel super rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certain arcs take longer for more issues. But,
Yeah. No, actually that does make me think, in the video, they take a clip from an old in cartooning or something. And it's like this is like the 80s, I think. But she's talking about how even though Marvel and DC had denied them initially, they started getting reprinted by Marvel Comics on their Epic line. And she was so excited because they didn't want to change anything about it. And I'm like, yeah, it's already printed. That would be nuts to just change it.
extra manpower.
Yeah, but also at the same time, I'm like, yeah, it is 30 pages, though. And they're used to printing like 20 to 24. So it's like, that is extra stuff,
If there's anything a corporation with a committee loves to do, it's change things.
Yeah.
So that part of the video, I think at the same time she was like, yeah, it was totally ironic because they rejected me in the beginning. And I was like, I love that.
Okay, cool. So now also to speak on the art.
Fantastic. There were some scenes, particularly with the eyes, like Rayek's stare. Oh my gosh. That was like captivating. I almost was stunned.
High praise.
Yeah.
There's a few parts where like you could tell that they didn't mean to line it as thick, and I kind of love that. Like, it feels so human, and yet it's so polished in certain ways.
Yeah.
Like, even from the first issue, it's very enthralling, entertaining. I also, looking at the cover, because I've seen the cover before, I was always like, this style. It plays into that thing again of like, if this is a soap opera, this is going to be really silly. The fact that they're able to like do these big-eyed elves with like, they have a little bit of cartoonish proportions.
Yeah.
A little bit. They have a lot of cartoonish proportions. And yet they're able to do like a very serious emotional story. Cool.
Yeah, no, I really just thought that, it was just so, well detailed. I just,
the expressions, they're so charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the expressions are great. And I will once again paraphrase a little bit of the video and I will say too, this video that we keep referencing, it is not just personally researched by the person who made it, but
Who made it?
It is
Matt with 4 T's.
Yeah, Matt with 4 T's, which is not spelled out that way, but MATTTT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that is, and I think it's like the subtitle is like comic, the channel subtitle.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, this video, basically, the Pinis had said that Wendy's main artistic influences came from one, she loved Cartoon Quest, and so, but her, I don't think it's controversial to say abusive parents did not like the cartoons and took them away from her. Didn't let her watch them. Also didn't let her draw because And so, but because she loved them so much, she would draw the cartoons from memory and basically make rudimentary comics without even knowing comics.
Did they mention any of her Eastern influences?
Yes, they did. So yeah, she
I'm so
also
curious.
she also saw a anime film from Otama Tezuka.
Tezuka.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I mean, who else during that time
Right,
could
right.
like have such a big influence?
Yeah. I'm forgetting the film now because
Is it Kaiba?
it might be. Tell me about the film a little bit, or at least show me a frame or something.
I might be misremembering.
Yeah.
What is that lion's name?
No, it's not that one. I know
it's
it's yeah, it's I think it has a monkey yeah, they are monkeys, a family. But
Oh my god.
Yeah, don't remember that one.
Son Goku the monkey?
no.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that, but yeah. Anyway though, yeah, so she saw that film though from him and like was immediately in love with it, and she actually wrote like basically fan comics to continue the story of the movie.
Right.
You know. And yeah, she describes her as like one of the first otakus in the West, you know.
Which to me, I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. I didn't realize there was anime back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Ceylon.
Yeah.
This is totally new to me.
Asia only came into conception
In the 90s.
80s.
Yeah, or in the 80s with Dragon Ball. Yeah, that's when it came about. See, I was about to take that joke and say that it came from Toonami on Cartoon Network, but yeah, you're right. It was in the 80s. Anyway, yeah, so that was one of her her main Eastern influence. And then a little bit later in her life, Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four. She wasn't initially interested in superheroes, but she liked the Fantastic Four because it was about a family.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's like some of the stuff we read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's precisely like where she would have been reading.
That's so
Nice.
funny.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, and then fourth influence, her grandma actually also, she saw her drawing ability and love for like cartoons, but low art and stuff, and also gave her a bunch of books on like fine art, like Art Deco and like, you know, a bunch of like from classics to modern, you know. So she also like had a lot of practice.
Giving a kid more art.
Yeah.
Tisk.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that was some artistic influences, and it was cool to like, you know, there was like one particular piece that I think Wendy said was like her favorite of like the Art Deco movement, and like, you know, she, like putting in the video like side by side of like that piece and then the Mother of Memory.
I was literally
Yeah.
just thinking, I was like, where could it be in the comic? I went, oh my gosh, her.
Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, that's the pose. But yeah, so yeah, that was really cool to learn about and to see. Yeah, I definitely like once it was spoken, it was like, of course, like we said, the big eyes and expressions and stuff from like anime and manga, and then also like the dynamism of action from Jack Kirby, like really, and like kind of bulky bodies sometimes.
Who doesn't love that?
Yeah, but yeah, overall liked it. It's good.
What interesting art.
Yeah, I can definitely see where this would be like, all right, we're going to teach this in school.
Yeah.
It's so funny whenever people are like, Scott Pilgrim is the first time Eastern and Western art have met. I like see people say that so often. I was like, you are a baby.
Yeah.
You were born yesterday.
Yeah. Real.
Okay, so Scott Pilgrim, I think
Yeah.
there's like a cover that I'm thinking of, or with that art is what I'm thinking of, and I'm like, if that is a blend of Eastern Western, I'm like, ooh, I do not like that. But this, I'm like, Yes.
So you don't like the Scott Pilgrim art style?
No.
Okay. You could
But-
have just said that.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I could have. I was walking you through my thought process.
I see. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we gotta stay on track here.
I appreciate that insight, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for our theme, let's talk about Western comics classics. Our first question: would you consider this book to be a classic?
Even before watching the video, I mean, I know it's a classic. I kind of know in like the back of my head. I don't know the reasons why initially. Before we started this conversation, but yes. I mean, it's so hard to realize how early and how groundbreaking this is because it's so entertaining and feels like
Yeah.
I know it's like it technically you can feel the age of it because of like the story,
Yeah.
like the things that were influencing her, Lord of the Rings, etc.
Right.
But still, it's just so entertaining. What do you mean this is like decades old?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like that was one thing that I was thinking of mentioning too, was that like the they kind of did like a fantasy timeline a little bit, where it was like, Lord of the Rings came out in like the 50s, the late 50s, and then like kind of didn't like underperformed, and then sprung back up in the 60s.
Cult classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
You don't like the books?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The movies, Taylor.
I just didn't hear. I don't think of books and think of underperforming, so I was like,
I understand.
yeah.
Yeah. No, they just didn't sell very well. Didn't get a lot of readership. But then, in the 60s, it kind of like got bigger, so she was influenced by that. But then, like, there still wasn't a lot of fantasy around. There was like a bigger boom of like new fantasy in the 80s and 90s.
Like the more I think about it, the more I can feel like there's got to be a lot of things influenced by Elfquest, like fantasy wise.
yeah.
Yeah.
The video mentioned Star Wars, and it mentioned an animated movie called Wizards,
Yeah.
Oh, I know
and
what
which was voiced by Mark Hamill. I didn't find that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some issue of Elfquest when I was looking at it on their website where they mentioned like we got the first pencil test for the movie back. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, yeah.
They've been trying for a while.
They've been trying for a while. Yeah, the video goes pretty deep into like the history of trying to get an adaptation, because that was Wendy Pini's big dream initially, because she loved cartoons as a kid. She wanted it to be animated. But I don't think we have time to really dive into that. Just recommend going and watching the video. I will say that one more recent, like last year, they did announce that Fox picked up.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, the rights to try to animate it as a series.
Oh, you mean Disney?
Right.
When is it ever not Disney?
Right. But I think, with the Fox branding, so a little bit more serious.
I think it's impossible to like pinpoint every single thing that's been influenced by Elfquest.
Yeah.
Because it's probably pretty vast.
Yeah, because I was talking about tropes, and I'm like, well, maybe it started here. I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, but we have to get to the next question.
Yes.
Because it's kind of in line with that.
Yeah. So, next question: is this work off-putting for today?
No, not at all. I think it is very much in line with a lot of discussions that we're talking about today.
Yeah, and I mean, the closest thing could be like the recognition. Maybe it could be seen as demeaning to like both parties. But at the same time, every single like romance fantasy book you pick up these days is like all of that.
Yeah.
To the extreme. So
Yeah.
maybe they're influenced by Elfquest.
Maybe without
Classic
even knowing.
fantasy comic.
Yeah, no, totally. And I would agree with you, Talon, too. I don't think that there's anything here that is like, particularly, I mean, even, again, to get a little bit into the history of it, wanting to get it animated, CBS was going to do an animated show, but they wanted to change the skin color of the characters, wanted to make the characters more like firmly gender presenting.
They probably also felt some way about the violence.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that Elfquest was talking about on their website was like, you probably think this is too violent. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, I think that,
I mean,
yeah.
it cuts a pig's throat at one point.
I guess, yeah, but it's like, I guess it's kind of similar to Usagi Yojimbo.
I'm also wondering, like, for our time, is it kind of tame?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of tame.
That's why I'm
for
thinking.
their time, would that have been, like, crazy intense?
It's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be because, it's only Marvel and
the
DC
comics
in the
code.
comics code. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're in the 70s, so the comics
Yeah.
code is relaxing at this
Yeah.
point, but still, it exists.
I mean,
It's
a lot
there.
of creators were still, like, even if they weren't being closely watched, they still felt it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So could this story even be different in modern day? If this was released yesterday, people would be applauding it for, like, bringing back some of the, like, the classic feelings of, unity, forging past differences and resilience.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that is a good thing because, like, even like with influences from like Kirby and stuff like that, it's like this does not like it doesn't it finds the balance, I feel like, so well between having a comic that is compressed and having one that is decompressed. Because, I'm like, some comics, you read an old Marvel comic and it's like, oh, God, there's so much here.
Every single page is a different scene.
Yeah, exactly. And then
there's like 60 panels of text.
Yeah. And then you read an arc, a 6-issue arc from Marvel in modern day, and you're like, God, we're still on this story? Like, can we move on, please? Like, and it's like, no, this has like perfect pacing where it's like, yeah, this is what I want out of a story.
Like, I can see so many people who would have taken this story and, like, just pulled out and lengthened the, like, trying to court Leetah. And the fact that time skip is like, and here's a kid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Spoiler alert.
Spoil it.
Yeah.
Talon, there may be elf children.
Wow.
Beware.
Yeah. Basically, issue 6, they jump ahead 5 years. Or
Interesting.
7 years. Sorry.
It's not even that long, man.
the issue that's like the quest begins or something like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also like kind of the really we read kind of the prelude in a lot of ways because like it's like when they say Elfquest, it's like that's the quest that
The elves haven't even found a quest yet.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah. So I don't know what question we were answering.
Would the story be different in modern
Yeah,
day?
yeah.
And we don't think.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
would be different.
Yeah, it's similar
But
to,
we don't want it to
how
be.
we talked about Cordo Maltese before. It is a very personal story. So it's like, is Wendy Pini writing it today at her, age and where she is in life? Yeah, probably. It's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
But is it somebody just totally different out there? Then yeah, it's going to be way different. But is it just coming out fresh as it came out in the 70s, but nobody's ever seen it before? Well, I mean, that's a different question, I guess. But
I mean, I can totally see, like, someone telling that story only, like, verbally to someone else and being like, now make that comic today.
yeah.
How different it would be.
Oh, yeah.
And how much I hate that comic.
Yeah.
That hypothetical comic nobody's made.
Yeah, it'd be way worse, for sure.
They'd be like, we're going to color every single page and do lens blur.
Yeah.
Cinematic quality. 6 issues would become 6 volumes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's segue into the ending of our episode. But before we do that, what would you like to see as the...
I want to know what this quest is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh.
Do they have to get the Holy Grail? I don't know.
I think I would want to kind of pick up the humans and the trolls, like kind of continue. Does that relationship change at all?
Yeah.
That's true. It's a very burning question. So I'm like eye rolling at myself. But I really want to know what happened with the humans.
Yeah.
Did they get their karmic,
Wow. Well,
Fate.
a small amount of patience will have you rewarded if you read ahead on all of that, actually.
Wow. With Elfquest, it's as if things happen in a matter of pages.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like I said,
Spoilers.
I read ahead of what we read. So, yeah, I'm just interested to see, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Here, this is like the lightest, littlest spoilers,
Okay.
I think,
Go
is
for
that, yeah, they're on a quest in the next volume to find other elf tribes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I want to see what...
The quest to unite the elf tribes.
Exactly.
Aww.
Yeah, and I want to see the differences between all the little elves. You
Okay.
can kind of get the like a little bit like an Avatar sense that like there's probably going to be like water elves or something. You know.
I was trying to figure out which avatar you were talking about.
Yeah, but really it could be both.
Okay, I was thinking blue people.
Yeah, I thought of that, and I was like, they're already blue.
But in the second Avatar, they were blue water avatars.
Yeah.
Is there fire ones?
Yeah, that's going to be the next movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
We cannot talk about this.
I wonder what his influence is.
Did you say what you want to see more of?
Yeah, the
Or what you
troll.
wanna see?
Yeah.
troll
Oh,
humans.
yeah. Yeah, and I agreed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that does come up too.
And Cody could not resist, so he kept reading.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Sweet. So there you have it. That's our review of Elfquest, issues 1 through 5. If you liked this episode, be sure to follow us on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and listen to more of us on Spotify. Our title is The Comic Panel Podcast. You can also listen to us on KSUARadio.com or 91.5 FM in Fairbanks, Alaska. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now for our retrospective on our theme, Western Comics Classics. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.